Are games supposed to be fun, or do we believe that games are art? Don't get lost in trying to determine which is right. I don't care, and neither should you. It's an impossible conversation to have, really, because it's taken for granted that the existence of one negates the possibility of the other. Fun or art, not both. To make a fun game, one must necessarily sacrifice a bit of the artistic purity. But the opposite doesn't seem to be true. When a game sacrifices fun for the sake of artistic expression, it's possible to reclaim that fun, a fun which only seems to exist when we aren't looking for it. Listen, I'm trying to come up with some clever way to introduce the game Naissance, okay? Naissance? NaissanceE? Whatever, it's a weird game and I don't know how to properly review it. Most people just want to know if the thing is worth the price tag. But if you love games like this one, you're going to buy it no matter what I say. And if you're not, you're not. I don't blame you. I'm not interested in making you like Naissance. Naissance isn't even interested in making you like Naissance. So much of this game's meaning comes from the developer's deliberate and strategic use of game design choices that, let's just say, are bad. For instance, the game has a staircase that takes 2 minutes to go up at full speed. It's in the dark, so you can't even look at the scenery. All you do is walk straight. For 2 minutes. If you don't turn up the gamma in the game settings, you might not even see the staircase in the dark and accidentally walk off the edge, die, and have to start the whole thing over. Then there's a desert level, which can be finished in about 90 seconds if you already know you're supposed to throw yourself off a cliff, a thing that kills you everywhere else in the game and also in real life. Otherwise, you can expect to wander around aimlessly, looking at fun and pointless little challenges that are scattered so far apart it takes minutes just to get from one to the other. Oh, how about the fourth chapter, which is essentially a 15-minute, at best, interactive fever dream sequence that seems specially designed to obliterate players with photosensitivity issues. The point is that, in a standard, marketable AAA game, no developer would ever get away with this. There would inevitably be a producer somewhere to come down and put the kibosh on these design choices, and for good reason. You're not going to sell 1 million copies of a game which seems actively intent on destroying you. This game doesn't even appear to be made for human experience. But I wonder if that's not the point. Something about Naissance's dedication and its hostility to the player means that the dark and oppressive atmosphere can transcend the game world. You no longer need to be told that Lucy is lost. You know this because you are lost. The world is unfair to Lucy, and you know this because it is also unfair to you. Lucy is stuck in a world that was not made for her, which you feel directly because the game seems to not be made for you either, or anyone for that matter. These frustrating elements aren't there so that you can play a bad game. The frustrating elements are the game. You're meant to become Lucy by sharing in her suffering. Well, that's my time, and now the trouble is, how do I rate the game? I mean, I picked a weird one as my first playthrough and review, and I don't want to set a bad precedent. But I think Naissance is amazing. It's a must-play for anyone who is into games that are atmospheric, artistic, unsettling, or give you existential dread. It's also worth it just to look at and walk through all the mind-boggling and alienating environments. The sound and music design perfectly complement the atmosphere, which is doubly impressive since none of the music was even written for the game. Graphically, it still holds up pretty well for being a decade old now, mostly because the environments aim for minimalism and simplicity in textures and color schemes. Oh, and the game is free on Steam, so you might as well. All that to say, my final rating will be 3 hearts out of 5, which means it's excellent.